Well,
Before we get started, ladies and gentlemen,
no, I gotta introduce my episode, Cody.
before we get started, ladies and gentlemen,
Cody, like we're already recording, Cody. Like we've already got started. This is
before
like
we
before we
get,
hit record.
we have a breaking news update.
I don't care about the offensive lineman that the Tennessee
No,
Titans
no, no.
slash Oilers drafted.
We starting this Monday, which of course this is going to come out after the fact.
This is a fucking month. This is gonna come out like 2 months
starting
after this announcement is being made. So it's gonna be inactive.
by the time you hear this, we will be having our episodes uploaded to YouTube. Now, what does that mean, you might ask? It means that every
Yeah, what does it mean?
week, every Monday, at least until we get caught up, there will be an episode of our podcast uploaded to our YouTube channel, which is Filmoscopy Podcast. The plan is, so this first one is going to be Mortal Kombat Annihilation. It'll go live at the same time that the episode goes live on the podcast feeds. Every other Monday in between, when we actually have a new episode on the podcast feeds, I will be uploading our old episodes. So
Okay.
it'll be MKA, and then that next Monday it'll be dual. So that's how it's going to work up until the point we get caught up to where we're at. And then it'll just be every episode goes live on YouTube at the same time that it does on the podcast episodes. It'll be every other week.
Is the I'm just curious about this. Is the background of the video that's gonna be playing just gonna be our logo? That's that big bright orange.
The first one, maybe the first couple are going to be. I'm going to work on. I have an idea. I want to kind of do. It's still going to be a still image or whatever, right? But I would like to create or Photoshop some kind of frame or image where it's like on the left hand side, it's filmoscopy and it's got our orange background or whatever. But on the right hand side, it's got a frame to where I can put in like the movie poster or whatever for whatever movie it is that episode's covering. Just not anything super complicated, but something just to kind of differentiate. The first one though is just the logo. We are not doing video podcast where our faces are going to be shown. The only time we may ever consider that is if by some chance in hell the YouTube stuff starts actually becoming like popular. Like I'm talking about like it's being watched way more than it's listened to, right? And people are specifically asking if we can do that. But up until that
Yeah.
time, it's just going to be what I was saying. So hopefully, the image, our logo, and then like the image of the movie poster or whatever for that particular film. So yeah, if you're listening to this, there should already be 5 or 6 of our episodes up on YouTube at this point. Go subscribe, even if you don't really plan on watching it there. I mean, it'll help us. And if you're someone who is listening to this on YouTube because you found us that way, then great, cool, awesome. Share it with your friends. But yeah, I just wanted to make that announcement. That's how it's gonna work, at least for the time being. So there you go.
Okay. Cool. Um, I actually listen to like all my podcasts, unless there's like one or two that are not on there on YouTube, because I pay for YouTube Premium,
Mm-hmm.
and that is ad free. Um, Continuously listening, unless you're like watching a movie you rented or a movie that's not like that was uploaded as a video on YouTube, because sometimes you run across that. If it's an official movie that's on YouTube, you can't do this. But any video you're listening to, you can turn the screen off and just listen to it.
Yeah.
I love YouTube Premium for that purpose, and you can share it with 5 other people. So I do that, and so it's pretty sweet. $25 a month, 6 people or 5 or 6 people get to share the benefits of it. It's fucking wonderful. So I listen to all my podcasts on there. There's like one or two on Spotify that I can't listen to. So on YouTube, so I will just listen to them on Spotify. But literally, if there's something that pops up on my Spotify feed that I like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to listen to that. I go to my YouTube channel and find it on there because Spotify just eats up my battery for some fucking reason. A podcast will eat up like 40% of my battery. YouTube does not.
Yeah, and I know there are people out there too that like if they work at a computer all day or whatever. I know just from other podcasts that I listen to, they talk about how they have fans who will tell them like, hey, I work at a desk all day. I have my headphones in and I just pull it up on YouTube and listen to it that way. So,
Well,
I just figured this is one more avenue for us to try and like reach people with it. If it works, great. If not, whatever. I'm still gonna upload them all there just because it's just more ways for people to access it. Um, but yeah, that's all it is.
oh, cool. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, like I told the guys on TNA Cross the Line podcast that who have given us a shout out. That's Dallas and Bob, wonderful guys, and they've shot out our podcast a couple of times. They shouted me out quite a bit because I'm the Jeff Hardy fanatic. But go listen to TNA Cross the Line podcast if you like wrestling. It's a wonderful podcast. They go week by week in TNA's history. It's just fucking incredible. Like they go through details that you're like, oh god, I didn't know that. It's pretty cool. Or like something I hadn't heard in 20 years, which is pretty cool. Um, I told them like, hey, I like listening to the podcast on YouTube. Make sure, like, not make sure, because they were kind of lacking. They were about 3 or 4 episodes behind. And then Dallas, he uploaded them all onto YouTube finally. So I was able. That's how I catch up with that. I'll see that I get a notification from them, and like I said, they actually review. Like they do a watch along, so they're watching the episode of TNA Impact or their Wednesday night pay per view or the TNA 3 hour pay per views, and they're talking as they go along. And so it's a 3 hour podcast for a 3 hour pay per view, like 3 hours and 10, 15 minutes. So it's like, man, that'd eat a lot of my Spotify. So since I got YouTube Premium and they were on YouTube, I would just listen to them on YouTube, and it's so much better. But yeah, cool. So we're going to be on YouTube, and we'll use our YouTube account more than just sharing rented movies. Um, all right, so welcome to the official start of this Filmoscopy episode. Where 3 friends pick three. I'll say this. When we started this out, I'm friends with Cody and I'm friends with Owen. They don't know each other from Adam and Eve. And now I would say we're all 3 friends, and it's pretty fucking cool. So that's the cool thing that this podcast has started.
Some would say lovers.
Yeah.
Maybe so. Maybe have a Ryu and Ken relationship almost. But I am Lance, today's host, and I am with my co-host today. All 3 of us are here today. Finally, thank you, God. Owen, say hi.
Hello.
And Cody, the man behind all the production, say hello, sir.
Hadouken.
Hadouken. All right.
Get some pound cake.
Hadouken fire.
Well, oh god. Okay, look, we'll talk about Dowsum in a minute, or a little while. But when he does that thing where I think he grabs the dude and he does this kind of like overhead punch. It's like I always thought he said, "Oh god, oh god, oh god," when he kept doing it on Street Fighter 2.
He's having a good time, dude. He's getting his rocks off.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh god."
He's like, "Oh god, it feels so good." Dude, he was kind of fucking scary in this movie, honestly. Like,
yeah, I will say this. I mean, I don't know what you guys' opinions. We'll reveal that at the end. I think the animation in this movie was great.
yeah, I like the designs a lot too of the characters.
Yeah, they wanted. I was reading some production notes, and they said they wanted like a scene where Ryu, after he trains, he takes a quick shower and then he's in like regular clothing. And the director was like, "No, I want to keep them as true to their video game format. I'm not changing anything." And the only person you really see change in this game from his game costume is Ken. Like he has a normal life.
Yeah.
Chun-Li.
But I thought that was pretty cool. They were faithful.
Yeah, Chun-Li gets fucking put in a coma.
Yeah,
she's also naked.
Like a mummy. Yeah, she is.
I
will say
that should be in one of the games too, if you ask me.
I know. Look, Chun-Li is very beautifully drawn. I will say that she's one of the more attractive anime characters I've ever seen.
Yeah, I really like her design
Um,
in this, and it's kind of weird that like in all the other games, she doesn't really look like this.
I know. You think they would actually like lean into this kind of like design, and like I said, I mean, it's weird that Guile doesn't have eyebrows.
Oh yeah, he's like a Teenage Mutant
His
Ninja
face
Turtle.
oh dude, he looks like fucking Raccoon from the Ginyu Squad. I know fucking Cody knows who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
And fucking Sagat, you see him at the beginning, and he's all fucking bulky and shit. But like the shots they have of Ryu staring up at him, I'm like, this dude kind of reminds me of Nappa. I mean, Nappa was kind of like dumb and just like going to kick ass and shit like that. But Sagat's like a world renowned warrior. But they have this kind of look. But everybody looks fucking fantastic in this movie. Well, the movie in discussion. I'm about to go on to this escapade in this podcast in the coming year, where at some point we're going to cover the Venom movies in between all this. But I'm made my selections are going to be like 2 through at least 8, probably more than likely all the way up until the reboot. I'm going to do the Friday the 13th movies. I just finished up with my selections being all Mortal Kombat movies because I wanted to celebrate my boy Hanzo Asashi, aka the original Scorpion, the only real Scorpion. And before I was like, okay, we're doing Friday the 13th. And then Owen had picked Wonka.
No, I
Not
picked
Wonka.
Wonka.
No, yeah, you picked Wonka, but Owen had picked the
Akira.
Akira, which, if I'm not mistaken, will be 2 episodes from now on our release schedule.
Wonka's a pretty good
So
anime,
we did
though.
do what?
I said Wonka is a pretty good anime, though.
Oh, of course. Well, they got a dude in there sounds like Motaro, and I'm sure everybody's listened to that so far. But you did. Owen had picked Akira, and we watched that. And like I said, I had more complaints than I thought. I just thought I was gonna be like, yeah, the movie was all right. It wasn't really my thing. But I was like, no, it's kind of frustrating because there's some things I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like I don't know where the fucking story's coming from. Um, hey, y'all talk real quick. Had to walk away for a second.
Okay. I don't know where he was going.
No. But I was like, so Owen. All right, that's gonna be kind of far away on that part. But Owen had picked Akira, and I'm like, look, I want to pick a fucking anime movie that is going to be good and get my wash my mouth out from that taste of Akira. So I wanted to do this. I'm like, okay, and I have a history with this movie, which I'll explain. But they had a pirated version of the U.S. version on YouTube, where it's just uploaded as an hour and 37-minute video. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. They also have the original Japanese musical score and dub on YouTube as an official thing you can watch for free with English subtitles. And I mentioned that to the guys, like, oh, here, it's cool. I don't have to rent the movie. Well, I had done research on this movie, and they had a Blu-ray release. They had like every fucking combination of releases on it. Like this was a collector's edition, and it wasn't like a 4K Blu-ray. And Cody, I'm just going to ask you: can my PS5 play 4K Blu-rays or just regular Blu-rays?
It should be able to. I mean, I'm not Cody, but I'm just.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know because I just still buy this regular. If I can get a Blu-ray DVD combo, I'm all over it.
I think
to have 2 copies of
it really should just matter on your TV. I think, based on that, I mean.
Yeah. Well, if you buy like a release of a movie, it's just sometimes you can get a movie that's got a Blu-ray and DVD combo, or just a 4K Blu-ray. That's all it is. So I'm like, I like to get 2 copies of the movie because I know my Blu-ray player. Like I actually have a separate Blu-ray player can also play regular DVDs, and my dad has finally, after fucking 15 years of telling him, has gotten a Blu-ray player. And he's like, oh, so I can still play my DVDs on it? I'm like, yeah, I've been telling you that. It just looks a little bit better on the screen. You don't have to worry about your DVD player stop working all of a sudden. But yeah, so today's episode is covering Street Fighter II, the animated movie, or as it's released in Japan as Street Fighter II movie. I know, Japan, man, we got to work on y'all's language. Like, there's some things that are kind of like left out. that's why we have to fill in things with our American dubs to make it either more interesting or just kind of not. There's a scene at the end of the movie that the dialogue's kind of weird, where Ken's like, Ryu, you've gotten a lot stronger. And Ryu goes, yeah, you too. And then Ken goes, oh, see ya. And that's it. And I'm like, man, I know everybody says the Japanese dubs are always better. They probably have a more meaningful conversation in the Japanese dub. No, it's the same fucking thing. I'm like, okay, whatever. Owen, I know you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
I don't know. All I wanted to.
That's okay. You don't have to say anything.
He says want to lift, dude.
Right.
I'm looking at it right now, and he asks where he's heading.
No, he does say want to lift, and he says it in the American version too, though.
And then he says,
yeah.
"Do you even lift, bro?"
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he says, "Do you even lift, bro?" But so, first and foremost, I want to ask you guys what your first experience was with this movie, and what your first experience was with Street Fighter as a franchise. Like, first game you ever played, first time you were introduced to it. I want to hear it.
As a French fries.
I'm gonna go with. I want to hear that with Cody first because Owen was a smartass.
Yeah, so my first experience with this movie, I think I was actually at your house like over 10 years ago, and you showed me because you had a PS2 like Street Fighter collection or something that also had
we're gonna get into that. Yep.
Well, yeah, and so that was the first time I ever watched it, and then this morning was the second time I ever watched it, which today was the first time I ever watched the extended version or uncut version or whatever.
Okay.
As far as my experience with Street Fighter, I had Super Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo when I was a kid. From the time I was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old, something like that. And so I played that quite a bit as a child, as a wee lad. And I never played another Street Fighter until Street Fighter 4 came along. So I played it, and since I've gone back, like with the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection, gone back and like beat a few of the old Street Fighters, like the original one, and a few of the Street Fighter 2 versions. I've played Street Fighter 5. I have Street Fighter 5. The only two I've never touched are Street Fighter 3 and Street Fighter 6. But Street Fighter is one of those things that's like, if you talk about like the big three, like fighting game franchises, I definitely prefer Tekken and Mortal Kombat above Street Fighter.
Okay. And quick shout out to Cody and his wife Stephanie. My Christmas gift a couple years ago was Street Fighter, the 30th Anniversary Collection on the PS4, and I still have that disc. And it's downloaded to my PS5 so I can play it anytime. So that was pretty cool. Owen, sir?
Yes.
What is your first experience with this movie and your first experience with Street Fighter as a franchise in general?
So, I first heard about this movie, I think, a while ago. Probably as I was becoming a teenager. I think I saw a review or something of like the live action movie, and people were just making fun of it, like shitting on it. And I think
a review of this movie or the live action movie?
Yeah, the live action movie. They were shitting on that.
Okay, you're becoming a teenager, and you're like, I got hair on my nuts. I just found out about this movie.
Yeah, well, I just heard about this movie. With regards to that, it was brought up kind of in the same kind of conversations and stuff, and they were like, oh yeah, this movie's badass, like it's like really faithful to the games, and it's got a lot of cool shit like naked titties, and it's got blood, like the dude gets shot by a machine gun and shit. But I never actually got around to watching it until recently. Until Lance recommended it for the podcast actually. So but my first experience with Street Fighter was, I think I was 5 or 6. I had gotten a Super Nintendo from my mom, and it had Street Fighter with it, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and that was the first time I had ever played Street Fighter.
So Street Fighter 2 Turbo, which was the 5th and final edition, right?
I don't know, because it doesn't have Cammy in it or anybody.
I think, well, I think it was Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Tournament Edition, Super Street
No,
Fighter.
Champion Edition.
What was it? Championship Edition. Yeah, you're right.
It's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Championship Edition, and then I think Street Fighter 2. Maybe it was Turbo, and then Super Street Fighter 2, and then Super Street Fighter 2 Hyper Edition or Hyper Fighting or whatever the fuck it was called.
Hyper awesome badass edition.
I think the Hyper Edition is the last one, at least for that time period. Because they've done a few more, and like
it says it's on Wikipedia. It says it's the third arcade version of Street Fighter 2. So.
Okay, yeah. So Super Street
Oh,
Fighter.
so
2
you
came
had
after
Super.
What'd you say?
Wait a minute, hold on.
Owen said he played Turbo. Turbo is a sped up version, essentially, of Championship Edition.
Okay, so it goes Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, or Turbo Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2, and the Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, right, or something like that.
It's like it's Super Street Fighter 2 Hyper Edition or something.
Okay, all right, cool. Well, my first experience with Mortal Kombat. Hey, I'm going right back to it. My first experience with Street Fighter as a franchise, my uncle had Sega Genesis, and obviously the two fighting games. Because, like I said, I associate in my head, because he had a Nintendo and we had a Nintendo, and he was living at my grandma's house. Because my uncle, like I say, he's 13 years older than me. So when I was 5, he was 18, still living at home. So I'd go over to my grandma's house because she was babysitting me if I wasn't right around my granddaddy. And like for the Nintendo, I associate the original Mario, WCW wrestling on the NES, which I've talked about that game. It's my first wrestling game. I love it. I think about WrestleMania Challenge, which is some shitty game, but the Ultimate Warrior's on the title card with the WWE title, which is awesome. And then think about WrestleMania Steel Cage Challenge, which is the game I had, and a bunch of other stuff. But the Sega game system I associate with, I associate Super Tecmo Bowl for the NFL on Nintendo.
Yeah,
and then for Sega, I know. I associate Super Tecmo Bowl on Sega Genesis, Super WrestleMania on the Sega Genesis that had the Ultimate Warrior on it, and Mortal Kombat 2, and Street Fighter 2. My uncle had rented the original Mortal Kombat or owned the original Mortal Kombat and then rented Mortal Kombat 2 and kept it for fucking forever. I think I may have told that story. But he had Street Fighter 2, the Champion Edition, and I didn't know there was any difference. But that was the first game I ever played of Street Fighter, and I loved it. And the only person I was ever good with in the game was fucking E Honda, because I figured out how to do the fast punch move. I was like, that's all I could do. I liked the aesthetic of Vega with the mask. It was almost like a Jason Voorhees mask at the time. That's what I could associate in the pixelated form. And anybody that took off a mask I thought was cool after I saw Scorpion do it in the first Mortal Kombat. So Vega takes off his mask and his pose. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I love the aesthetic of Ryu. I thought he looked fucking awesome. And I like Bison having a cape. I like capes as superheroes. So that was my first experience with that. My first experience with this movie, Christmas, either 2004 or 2005. I didn't know this existed. My mom, I unwrapped a gift. My mom and my dad. I'm pretty sure my mom picked it out. PlayStation 2, Street Fighter. Cody just mentioned it. Let me look it up real quick.
Street Fighters.
What was that thing called?
In disguise.
Well, what was the edition called, Cody? A 2004.
It was some kind of
Street Fighter collection.
It was like some kind of. I just know it was a collection of different Street Fighters, right? Hold on.
Super Butt Sex Edition.
Oh.
with 10 times more butt sex.
See,
hold on.
I just looked this fucking thing up.
I'm furious. I'm furiously Googling it. Furiously, just jacking it. So there was the Street Fighter Anniversary Collection that had a bunch of different Street Fighters on it. Is that the one, or was it?
Yes, that's it. Thank you. All right, so this was released in 2004. The North American, it was originally released on the Dreamcast and was ported over to PlayStation and Xbox. It was released on August 31st, 2004. Street Fighter Anniversary Collection. And this game had all 5 versions of Street Fighter 2
Mm-hmm.
and then Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, which was the final version of that game. Now, to my absolute just complete amazement, because I only played Street Fighter 2 the Champion Edition, I didn't know that that was the second version of the game, and I didn't know that there were 3 more versions of the game, and there were 5 total of the game. I'm like, wow, that's fucking amazing. And I didn't know what the difference was. So when I first got on the game, you can interchange any characters. So you can play the original Street Fighter 2 version of Ryu and play Super Street Fighter Turbo 2 or whatever in Bison. It's not going to be a fair matchup because the Champion Edition and the original version, they move kind of slow when you're jumping up and down. But you can literally, like, and it's amazing they can put those characters together. It's like a Mugen game, but professionally done. Um, so I got that, and I discovered on here that they had an animated movie. I'm like, what is this? Like, this is fucking cool. I never knew what this was, so I clicked on it. All right. I noticed it was like it was anime like style, like Dragon Ball Z style drawn. It wasn't like Mortal Kombat, Defenders of the Realm drawn cartoon. So I watched it and I heard some familiar music. There's a scene in the movie where Ken is driving his fiance and they're playing Alice in Chains, Them Bones. And I'm like, oh, dude, I know that song. And I'm embarrassed to say this is a fan of the band. But when I got to the end of this movie, they play Corn Blind. This was either 2004 or 2005. So See You on the Other Side by Korn was getting released in '05. That's the CD that's got Twisted Transistor and Coming Undone on it. And I had never heard of Corn Blind. I never heard the song before. Yeah, I'd heard other things like, Freak on a Leash and, that one song I really like off of Issues, Falling Away From Me. And then obviously I really loved Untouchables. But I never heard the original single. I'm like, dude, who is this? Like, hold on, what the fuck? And then I saw they got to the credits. It was Born Blind. I'm like, is this it? I looked it up on YouTube on my computer in the office, and sure enough, it was Corn Blind. So this movie introduced me to Corn Blind, so I have a lot of nostalgia tied up to this movie. So I probably watch this movie like anywhere from '04, like Christmas '04, around that area to possibly '06. But yeah, so that was the first time I watched it, and I've watched it periodically over the time. And I didn't know that was a PG-13 version of the movie. And in reality, that's the PG-13 version of the movie minus a few more cuts in the movie because they couldn't put it. They didn't want the game to get an M rating. They were trying to keep the game in a rating where everybody could buy it. So they cut more out of the movie to put in there. It was like a couple extra minutes. But yeah, so that was my first experience with Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, or in Japan, Street Fighter 2 movie. And this movie came out like a couple months after the Street Fighter the movie came out here in America. Like it was in production at the same time. I think it was released a couple months after. And there's a scene where that little bald scientist is talking to Bison and they're talking about the president. And the guy, I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy's name they mention is the guy who oversaw that movie's production. He was a producer of the Street Fighter movie production, which I thought was kind of a cool little nugget. I found that out today. All right, so needless to say, this is a fighting game movie, so plot may or may not be to your liking depending on what you're looking for. If you're looking for Psycho 2, um, you're not going to find it here. But if you're looking for something better than Mortal Kombat, Annihilation, Street Fighter the movie, anything Street Fighter's released that was live action, Mortal Kombat, The Journey Begins. It's better than all those. So it's pretty dope. If you're gonna sit there and rank like live action like live action video game shit, the original Mortal Kombat movie is probably number one for me. And then this one's like number two. Like this is not live action, but it's an adaptation. So and it's really faithful to the video games. And now I guess, we can open this up to discussion. This is like as I said, like extremely faithful to the video game, but you can also tell that Street Fighter as a story is kind of thin.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's the thing. It's kind of hard. There's a lot of shots in this movie where they're walking for long distances and they hold it on there for like another 20 seconds. And it's just kind of like it's like they're stretching the movie out to, at least fill in an hour and 30 minutes or whatever. Yeah. So
I felt like they had a lot of
there
characters, though, is what I felt. I felt like they were bouncing between so many different like things to be like, hey.
Yeah, they were trying to fit everybody in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. A lot of it was just like, okay, what's an excuse to get this one character in here for this one fight?
Yeah, because
to have him in here.
Reusing China just for no reason. It has no like bearing on the plot really. Besides having the cyborg guy like scan him fighting or whatever.
And I'd say for Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. It's pretty much just an excuse to fight the what's his face. I don't even remember the character.
Fei Long.
Yeah, just to fight him.
Yeah, and I think for the first 30 minutes or so of the movie, there really isn't a plot at all because it is straight up just, here's, you start off with Ryu and Sagat or whatever, which of course is from the end of Street Fighter 1, and then you jump around. It's like, oh, well, here's Dalsim and who's he fighting? Is he fighting E Honda?
Yeah, he's fighting E Honda.
E Honda, yeah.
So it's like they're fighting, and I know like it's getting to the point where it's like, oh, well, now Ryu and E Honda are going to like train together or whatever. But a lot of it is just like bouncing around, like fight, and then finally it feels like the plot steps in. It's like, okay, so this is more revolving around Shadowhide and like taking them down. What is it?
It's pronounced like Shadow Law.
You said
it's like Shadow Lu.
You said Shadowhide, like from Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, I thought it was Shadowhide.
At least you didn't go. Hey, at least you didn't go Shadow the Hedgehog. That's who they're trying to fight.
Shadow the Hog. He's like, damn.
Yeah. The Lolly Lule Lo come around and. It's about stopping them or whatever. So, which, like I said, after it doesn't, it's like only the last hour of the movie that it really starts to even kind of try to focus in on that,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's the kind of feeling that I got too, is that, like I enjoyed watching these characters. I mean, I guess spoiler alert from my end of the show thing. I like this movie, but if there was one takeaway that I had against it was that It does feel a little plotting at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like the ending justifies like to rewatch the movie?
Oh yeah, the ending's fucking awesome. Like what they do to recontextualize like the relationship between Ryu and Ken in this movie is like fucking awesome. This movie has made Ken my favorite Street Fighter character.
Fucking dope, man. I get excited hearing it's a positive.
It has made Ken my favorite Street Fighter character. It's made me like Guile a lot. I used to not like Guile because I thought he was goofy, but now I think he's cool as fuck. I even like I like Chun-Li a lot now because you get to see her naked. Vega's cool. Right. I remember I told you once that Vega was my favorite character, but he's kind of gone down now that I know he's kind of just a jobber. But he still has a really cool design. I like his like Spanish ninja aesthetic.
Well, this movie presents him as a jobber because I think in the game the backstory for him is he's one of like the 4 lieutenants or whatever under Bison.
Yeah. Well, you can tell that he's like high ranking. Like you can tell he's like a high ranking member of Shadow Lu or Shadow Law or whatever.
Yeah.
The fuck. But still. I don't know.
Real quick, guys. Before we get into this, I want to do a quick little game with you, okay?
Yeah.
You don't look at your phones. Don't pull anything up. Don't look at your computers. I'm going to ask you this character. What is the... This is crazy. Okay. The Spanish ninja with the mask that we were just talking about.
So I know
what is his actual Japanese name?
Balrog, right?
No, Balrog is in Bison.
It's Balrog. No. He's right. Balrog is Vega.
Okay. So,
now,
because
hold on. I'm getting the other ones. Hold on.
All right.
Don't worry. Trust me. I'm gonna cover it all. Trust me. I promise you, I'm gonna cover it all. All right. Um, the bald, one eye patch, um, Nappa, if you want to call him that, to Vegeta. The 7 foot tall from Thailand kickboxer. What is his Japanese name?
So he would be Vega, right?
Nope.
Isn't he's Sagat in America, right?
Yeah.
He's Sagat in America and he's Sagat in Japan.
Okay, I know.
So that was a trick question. All right.
Okay.
So there's another thing. This is I know Owen probably knows this. This is a question for Cody. The main boss with the cape and the red fucking suit. What is his Japanese name?
See, I always thought it was Balrog or Balrog or whatever, because I thought that him and they swapped. Because in Japan, the boxer is named M. Bison, but they swapped it to M. Bison as we know here in the West because they were worried about Mike Tyson maybe potentially suing them or some shit.
So what's his Japanese name though, Cody? Come on.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Vega is the only one that I know of that doesn't have his American name, so I guess Vega.
Well, no, Bison's Japanese name is Vega.
That's so
They call
weird.
him Lord Vega in
Why
the
the-
Street
why
Fighter
the
2
fuck would they
Japanese
swap-
version.
Vega's. Why would they swap his?
They
Are you
swapped
sure that-
all of them for some reason. I don't remember why.
They swapped those three. It was because
I know about the M. Bison.
M. Bison is
get-
obviously Mike Tyson.
yeah.
And he even had his head shaved in similar ways that Tyson had his head shaved. So they, instead of coming up with similar names for the characters, they decided just to swap the characters. And this was Capcom's decision. This wasn't like an American decision. They didn't want to be sued anywhere else. So any American-speaking countries, or even like it's literally only Japan is where Bison is known as Vega, Balrog is known as M. Bison, and Vega is known as Balrog. Everywhere else, like in Spain, Vega has like a Spanish name with Vega in it.
La Vega.
So that's
El Vega.
something like that actually. But I wanted to do that. I wanted to do a quick like what's in a name type of game. See what you guys thought. But so yeah.
And here's
the
the
guy.
thing-
If anybody's
Here's the theme song. Say my name, say my name.
my name.
Why does
Uh,
why does the boxer in this show look like he's like got fucking hit in the head? I guess because he's supposed to be Mike
Dude.
Tyson.
Well, here's the funny thing about this, and we'll get into this. That was the one inconsistency because every other appearance in this movie, he's normal. But as soon as he jumps down to fight E Honda at the end, his eyes go bug out. Like that's the thing. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. But his eyes are bugged out when he jumps off the plane. Like that was something they added at the end.
I actually looked it up.
But,
I had to look it up. I was like, he does not look like that in the games. And I saw I think I saw like a concept art or some shit where he he did look like that, but that was like it.
So yeah, so anybody who's like on the outside who's never played Street Fighter, you have 4 characters that were added in the Champion Edition of Street Fighter 2. You have Vega, which is the handsome Spanish, and they call him the Spanish Ninja because he studied ninjutsu in Japan and brought it to Spain. And you have Balrog, who is the boxer who was banned from boxing because he was too violent, which is funny because Tyson got banned from boxing because he bit somebody's ears off later on in life. And he's based off Mike Tyson. You have Sagat, which is the big bald guy, and then you have M. Bison, who's the main bad guy. But so the names were flopped around. So M. Bison, his name in Japan is Vega. Vega's name is Balrog, and Balrog is actually M. Bison because he looks like Mike Tyson. So yeah, that's the kind of thing. So this movie, like Cody said, starts out with. I mean, I never realized it. I just thought it was some fight, and it's a nod to Sagat being the main boss of Street Fighter 1, the game. That this fight is where Ryu beats him. This is where he gets a scar on his chest. Which is cool. And you see somebody's like analyzing them, and you see them. And for some reason, every time but until the end of the movie when they shoot it, and they shoot their fireballs, Ken and Ryu do not say Hadouken. They don't say it until the very end when they shoot it at M. Bison. In the Japanese version, every time they shoot off the fireball, they do say Hadouken, but he does a Hadouken, and that's the opening title credits. You're introduced to um, this scene in London where the Prime Minister is coming down the steps. In Japan, the Japanese version, Owen can back me up on this. He's walking down the steps. All he's doing, all he says is, "Well, that went well." And Sir is like, "Sir, do we have any questions?" He says, "No." "Sir, do we have any questions?" "No." And then he gets his neck snapped by Cammy. The American version, you hear them be like, "Sir, do you want to talk about corruption?" He goes, "No, I don't think so." And he seems like a corrupt politician, so you don't really know why you would feel bad when he gets killed.
Mhm.
Turns out he's an opponent, or Shadow Law wants to get rid of him. So Cammy was, and her backstory wasn't really established when this movie came out. She was brainwashed by Bison, and she was the one that killed it. And as soon as she killed the guy, she forgot everything. She forgot all of her memory. So, um, and like in Cammy is like I always thought was like the female version of Guile because she's military, but for the British operatives. And it turns out she's like a female clone of Bison and has like part of his soul. It's some weird convoluted shit as I was reading it up.
That's weird.
Um,
I didn't even know that.
it is weird, but yeah, but she has some connection to Bison. Like she's part genetic, like clone of him or something like that. It's really weird. Um, but so then you get introduced to Chun Li as she's talking to Interpol, and they're trying to like find out why this guy was killed, and she's trying to track down Bison for Shadow Law. They know Shadow Law. They're trying to attack Shadow Law and destroy them. And you find out later on that and on all the source material, her father was killed by Bison, and she goes to get introduced to Guile, and Guile has lost his best friend. And I don't know if they had given him the name Charlie yet. They may have. I think Charlie was. I think they merged Charlie and Blanca in the Street Fighter movie characters, the live action one. So Charlie became Blanca.
Mhm.
But I'm pretty sure that so it's supposed to be his friend Charlie that got killed by Bison. So it's a little like interchange with that. Now, what's funny is I saw this scene. Like Street Fighter had an animated series that was produced here in America that came out in like 95, 96. And it was shown on USA Network along with Mortal Kombat, Defenders of the Realm, an animated series, and a few other things. But there's a scene in this card, and it's very American. Like, I mean, the characters look like their video game counterparts, but it's very American. And Chun Li's about to attack Bison, and she goes, "Bison, this is for my." He goes, "Yes, yes, I know. I killed your father. Okay, come on." He goes, "I killed my father. You don't see me complaining this much about it."
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty funny. Like, okay, I kind of like that. But Bison in that cartoon show, his eyes are blacked out and he has white pupils instead of being like all white like he is in here. He looks really intimidating in this movie. Like I think he looks pretty badass in this movie. Um, but also you are getting intercut scenes of Ryu. Like you have this main story going on, but you have intercut scenes of Ryu just walking the streets, kicking people's ass. You see Akuma like homeless, but like he looks down bad homeless. Like he's on like against this broken down wall and he's
Yeah,
drinking
he's
something.
a bum. Like, yeah, wasn't he supposed to be like the badass? Like, isn't he supposed to be part of Shadow
He
Law or some shit in the games?
no, that's the thing. Like he is like they wanted him. The developers of the game wanted a character that contrasted Bison and Ryu. So he's going to be like a darker version of Ryu, but he's not evil the same reasons that Bison is.
Yeah.
And that's why they created him. He's actually in the fifth and final version of Street Fighter 2. If you meet some kind of criteria, when you get to the Bison fight, he'll show up and the screen will go black and you'll see like 20, like you know how when they punch somebody in a comic book, you see like the sound effect? You'll see like 20 little sound effects go off, and Akuma will have killed Bison in front of you, and you have to fight Akuma.
Mm.
And he's evil, but more in the like more neutral sense. Like he's just looking to kill the strongest fighter. He's not looking for world domination.
Yeah.
He doesn't want any of that, but he's been corrupted by evil. Um, so yeah, like this is just a little nod to that character being in there. They didn't have his backstory established. In reality, he is the brother of Ryu and Ken's sensei. So the guy you hear in this movie would be Akuma's brother.
Yeah.
You also get. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, yeah, I didn't have.
Oh, okay. All right. So like we got to the first part of the plot. You guys said it was kind of prodding at this point. So let me ask you this: where did it pick up for you, so it kind of gained your interest at least?
I know exactly where it was. It was probably with the titties hanging out. Honestly,
Okay, we'll get to that.
I mean,
Same thing for you, Cody. I'm assuming.
yeah. What?
That's, I think, is it right after that scene, or it's during that scene where it does become interesting. I know it's so fucking. It's not for. It's not for a perverted reason, but like that's like the first time in the movie where I feel like there's some like sort of tension, at least a little bit, where she gets attacked after she gets out of the shower, and you see Guile like driving or whatever. He's like, she said she was going back to her apartment or whatever, and like trying to call her or whatever. So that scene there is the when it actually kind of gets interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what
before that.
That's what I wanted to add to what I was saying. I wasn't just doing it as a joke. I mean that legitimately. Like that's where it kind of actually picks up.
Okay, so before we get to that, that's probably around the 50-minute mark, halfway through the movie.
It's the 40. It's the 44-minute mark, sir.
Okay, my bad. So, like at that point, we have an hour left of the movie. So at least this movie picks up for the last hour versus the first hour is good and it sucks the last 30 minutes. So before that, they also have shots of Ken, and he's in Seattle, Washington, and he's with his fiance, and he has fights and stuff like that. He has a fight with T-Hawk, who it's short for Thunderhawk, and he's a character that was introduced into, I believe, I want to say Super Street Fighter 2, which is the 4th version. I know he was in the 5th version.
Yeah, he was introduced in Super Street Fighter 2.
Okay, and he just wants to test himself by defeating Ken, who he perceives Ken as probably the strongest guy on the planet, not named Sagat. And Ken goes, the only guy that's ever defeated me is Ryu. And he goes, Ryu, a bag of bonds that dropped off the face of the earth. You compare me to him? And they go into a quick fight, and then, Ken knocks him out. But all the while these fights are happening, like, so Ken has a fight with T-Hawk, while in fucking China, Ryu, I'm glad I just thought about this. Ryu has a quick fight with Fei Long, who is a character that they put in the game, I'm assuming for the 4th edition. He's obviously completely inspired by Bruce Lee. Like, he is a ripoff of Bruce Lee. I don't want you guys looking this up. So, I found this out today. Now, it says it was rumored. I don't know why they would put it in the disc. As I listened to him, because I've watched it the 3rd time, and I was like, oh my God, it does sound like him. There's a now famous actor who wasn't famous at the time that played Fei Long, but he's under a pseudonym on here. Like 3 characters on here for sure have pseudonym voice actors. They didn't want their real names revealed for some reason. But 2, like the guy who played Ken and guy who played Ryu came back to do the English adaptation for a very confusing anime that ran for 3 seasons, 29 episodes. It was called Street Fighter 2 V. Now, I've always read it as Street Fighter 2-5, which doesn't make any sense to me. But it turns out it's Street Fighter 2 V, short for victory. Why not just saying victory, but whatever.
What about vagina?
Vagina. Chun-Li's vagina. We didn't see that part. You see it here. I'm just joking. Anyway, there's a famous actor who voices Fei Long in this American version of the movie. Don't anybody look it up. Just kind of think. He's not a big movie actor, but he had one show that kind of blew up for about 6 years.
Chuck Norris. I don't fucking know.
God damn, how'd you figure that out?
Was it really Chuck Norris? There's no fucking...
No, it wasn't Chuck Norris, you dumb son of a bitch.
It was Chuck Norris.
Right. No, I'm
sorry, it was...
No, I'm just kidding.
It was fucking... What's his face? Steven Seagal.
Don't look it up. No, Steven Seagal, he's like... I didn't make my living in the movie.
Hey, what? He's like... He's in China, he's like... Hey, why don't you guys talk English? Why don't we speak English?
That would be fucking great. He goes in there and he goes like, "What's going on here?" And it's where they're about to fight Ryu, and the guy goes in Chinese, goes, "Hey, speak American."
Yeah.
Um. All right, so do you guys want to take a guess? Like this show came out around the 2010 era, and it lasted about 6 seasons. Everybody loved it. Don't look it up. Don't look it up,
Wait,
man.
when
You
did
gotta go by
it
memory
came
on
out in
this shit.
2010?
Around that era. It maybe came out a couple years before 2010. 2010 may be in the middle mark of the show.
David Hasselhoff.
Nah, he was in a SpongeBob
No.
movie, bro. He's a big name star.
I'll let you take a one more serious guess.
The
and I'll tell you
Walking
who it
was
is.
he from The Walking Dead?
I'm not gonna say it. You just take a guess.
Look, we
I'll
need
tell
some
you if
fucking
it's
hints
him or not.
here.
Walking Dead ran longer than that. It was Kevin Bacon.
No, not Kevin Bacon. All right, Owen, you take your last guess.
2010 shows. Bryan Cranston.
It is Bryan Cranston. Goddamn.
I just thought Breaking Bad. I was like, Breaking Bad, because I know Bryan Cranston used to do anime dubs as well.
Yes,
That's
he has a pseudo name, and on the actual DVD Blu-ray I watched today because they have text notes where you can read it. It says allegedly Bryan Cranston underneath a pseudonym did Fei Long's voice. I'm like, that's weird to put it in there.
Yeah.
And on the Wikipedia, I'm pretty sure IMDb has him listed on there too.
Yeah,
it's Bryan Cranston.
That's where he got to start. That's why. So in Malcolm in the Middle in the theme song, you know how there's that anime in the theme song that it shows like clips of. The only reason that's in there is because Bryan Cranston was in it, doing voices.
Oh, okay. That's cool shit.
The anime really sucks, by the way.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called, but it's really terrible.
But yeah, so there you go. Bryan Cranston's Fei Long, and I was listening. I'm like, holy shit, it is his voice. Like, that's cool as shit.
He said, Jesse, we need to cook. I need to cook now, Jesse.
He goes in there and goes like, "What's going on here?" He goes, "Oh, just a simple fight." He goes, "I thought we were cooking meth."
And then Mike shows up and he's like, Walter, put your dick away, Walter. I'm not having sex with you right now, Walter.
But all right, cool. I'm glad I was able to reveal that. I thought it was pretty fucking cool when I found that out. So, we have a quick fight with Fei Long, and then he kind of makes his way. Calcutta, I think was the caption. That's where I guess it's kind of India is where they're implying. I'm not sure what Calcutta is. It's just the caption.
Oh, is it Calcutta? Is that what it is?
Calcutta, yeah.
Yeah, that's in India.
Okay, so it's in India, and it's the fight between E Honda, my boy, and Dalsum. And there's not really much of an interaction in the fight between them and the Japanese dub that I watched. It was just a lot of grunting and E Honda going, "Come here, you." He doesn't even refer to Dalsum by name. But in the American dub, it's like their buddies fighting. He's like, "Come here, Dalsum, you cheat. You're not going to throw this fight," or some shit like that.
Oh yeah. In the Japanese version, you get this Dalsum's fucking scary. Even his voice is kind of creepy.
He's fucking cool as hell as a character.
Yeah.
It's just his aesthetic fucking is probably it takes what the video game does for him and just enhances it. I think he probably is one I would say top 3 best looking characters underneath Chun-Li and Cammy. So
Jerry Han.
you have that. Yeah, but you also throughout this whole time they introduced the cyborg that is multiple cyborgs that go through the country that is literally recording data from all the fighters they're trying to scout for Shadow Law. So think of the scouter from Dragon Ball Z that the Saiyans wear, but it's an actual cyborg that's doing it. And you have one's watching Ken, one's watching. You see a quick scene with Chun-Li and Guile going to see DJ. It was a Jamaican kickboxer. And you see them the information is getting sent to Bison live stream. This is live stream before live stream. So Bison sends out. This is the best part of the movie. Vega to go get Chun-Li. So how do I do this gracefully? Because it's not going to happen. There's a shower scene with Chun-Li, and like I said, this is like 1994 anime, and like the PG-13 version, you get like a muffled shot of her and her hair in the shower. You don't see anything else. I'm pretty sure that's what you see in that PlayStation 2 game, the anniversary edition that I had. But in the full Japanese versions, uncut, you get a full version of her backside, and you get a full titty shot. Now, the unedited English version that was released, excuse me, in America back in the 90s or early 2000s, you just get one shot of her ass and that's it. In the unedited United Kingdom version of this movie, you get the shot of her titties and no shot of her ass.
That's really
And so
really
this
highlights our difference.
That's it. Yeah, no, exactly. So there's that, and so you get Chun-Li in all of her glory, and like I said, she's one of the best, well drawn, in detail, um, anime characters I've ever seen. And as this is happening, um, you have this kind of weird point of view shot, like something just moving up the building, and then it goes to her taking a shower, and something's like entering her room, and then it goes back to her in the shower, and then you hear the phone ring, and I'll say there's a cool little detail I kind of like with the phone ringing because, like Cody said, Guile is calling her as he's stuck in traffic, trying to see if she got home or if he has some more information or whatever. But the phone rings like 5 times, and then when he hangs up, it does ring, bling, bling, and it does a half ring and hangs up. It's not just some full rings and then it just automatically just stops ringing. I thought it was a cool little detail that they actually had a phone hanging up mid ring, and that I just thought that was cool. Like if you remember old landline phones. So she's getting dressed, and Vega attacks her, and it's actually a pretty badass fight. Now, the weird fucking thing, the Japanese dub has this K-pop song, or J-pop, I don't know what the fuck it's called, song playing where it's like, oh, don't cry your tears tonight, and all this. It's like really slow. And then the American dub plays this really heavy fucking rock song in the middle of the fight, which I like. I will say the one thing about the Japanese dub, it probably establishes atmosphere a little bit more. You hear like grunts and punches a lot more because it's a lot quieter and the music's a lot more toned down, where the American version is kind of in your face. So I will say the Japanese dub has cool atmosphere with that, and hearing the sound effects of punching and kicks landing is really cool, but I prefer the American music. That's just me. So, quick fight. There's a lot of blood. There's a scene that was not in the PG-13 movie where Vega slices Chun-Li and he licks the blood off his blade, and I'm like, oh god damn.
I have a question about the music in the scene with the fight. So I know in the Japanese one, it starts when she turns on the radio. So when she turns on the radio, does it just start playing like fucking like some chord? And she's just
I wish, dude.
So it just starts as they fight.
It turns into like some kind of soft like 90s song you'd hear like fucking Cher sing or some shit like that.
Oh, okay.
Like some shit like that.
And then it
but
goes
here's the thing.
into the fight music. Like when
in
they
the
fight.
Japanese dub, yeah, in the Japanese dub, she turns on her radio and the song's playing, and then Guile's listening to the same song on his radio. That's kind of like how it's connecting the two scenes.
Yeah.
Other than him calling her, but it plays that.
Yeah.
Well, in the American version, it plays this really soft song playing. I said it sounded like something Cher. It's more like that one chick, Alanis.
She's like, do you believe in life after love?
Life after love.
Alanis Morissette?
Yeah, something like that. I wouldn't say it's not that song, but
it's Dido.
well, like a softer song. But anyway, so it's playing music on Guile's radio. It's literally just a transmission saying there's a wreck on this highway. He runs into the wreck, so it's not playing music for him. And then when Vega jumps down from the ceiling, that's when the fucking music kicks on. Like it's music for the movie, not for the background of the scene.
Yeah.
And it's a kick-ass song. I like it. I don't even know who it fucking was. Let's see here.
It was "Angry Cher" by Alice in Chains.
No.
It was Bodies by
no.
Drowning Pool.
Yeah, what the Bodies? Before it even came out. 10 years before it even came out. It was Headstrong by Trapped.
Or since Vega was watching her in the shower, he was like, "Let the body hit the count. Let the
He said,
body to the count.
Let the boobies hit the floor. Let the boobies hit the floor.
It may be this KMFDM song Ultra.
Kill motherfucking Depeche
Or
Mode.
maybe, yeah, or Black/Note Evil Dancer. I'm not sure. Like I said, they have a couple. Like the songs that are played in this movie. I'm sure. I'm assuming this is the song playing in the DJ scene. It's from Smoking Suckers with Logic because I'm like that.
That's awesome, dude. You think it would play like reggae or some shit since he's Jamaican. You're making me horny.
Yo, I know. So you got Alice in Chains, Them Bones, Corn Blind. You have Silverchair, Israel's Son. In the Nursery, Hallucinations, and then, like I said, KMFDM Ultra. And I feel like that might be the song that's playing when Chun-Li and him are fighting. It's a heavy fucking song, and they're industrial act. I think it's
I Put Your Picture Away by Kid Rock and what's her face.
I put your picture away.
Sat down and shitted today.
Anyway, so Chun-Li gets in a fight, and then she ends up kicking Vega's ass, and it's really cool. You see like a first-person shot of her doing her fucking fast kick move, like into the camera. I thought it was pretty dope. And Vega in the American version, you don't know if he survives. Like he goes crashing out of the building into the alleyway, and later on, Bison goes, "Sagat, you need to go to America and kill Cammy and Vega if he's still alive." Whereas in the Japanese version, his name's Balrog, obviously, and they say, "What happened to Balrog? He got turned over to the New York police." Okay, so he's in custody of police.
Coming to America.
And Chun-Li is so she's incapacitated and she's out for the rest of the movie. She's bandaged up like Imhotep in The Mummy, and she's in a hospital bed. And then Bison and Guile. I guess this is where he's appealing to Owen, is he shows some kind of emotion, like he looks at her almost like a kid sister. Now, there's scenes in the Japanese version, kind of romantic music, so I don't fucking know.
I thought they were going to be lovers and fuckers.
Yeah. It's more like, Cody, if you correct me if I'm wrong, the English version, it almost seems like the big brother, little sister for a hot second.
Yeah, sort of.
Because there's no romantic music. Like, I wouldn't have looked at them as, like becoming a couple, but they play romantic music for Guile and Chun-Li in the Japanese version and for Ken and Ryu.
They say, "I put your picture away."
So, Guile is, he's going to go try to get to Ken before Shadow Law gets there. Now, this is the scene where it completely differentiates.
Yeah.
What, Cody?
I put your picture.
I can't look at you while I'm lying next to her. Dude, why does Vega have fucking Jedi powers? Does he have those in the game? Psychokinetic fucking abilities?
Well, he like leaps all around like the ceiling and.
No. He's talking about Bison Vega.
Yeah, my bad. In Bison, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Bison. No, he has those kind of powers in the game. That fucking pose where he gets like knocked on his ass and he lands on his feet floating in the air.
Oh yeah.
He does that twice in this game. Like that's how he starts. Like when you face him, he's just floating in the air.
Yeah, he floats into the stage. I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, and he does that kind of like half-assed, like Sub-Zero ice slide with his feet out. He does that move in this game once. And he has another one where he doesn't do the thing where he has that move where he like flows right through you and you go like burning and shit like that. I can't remember the fucking move. I can't remember all Bison shit. But Bison, even when he jumps in the champion version of Street Fighter 2, he also almost like he floats as a character. Like he floats, he jumps, he can kind of kick you on top of your head and jump off you like you're a lily pad and you're a fucking Frogger.
Yeah.
Jumping on fucking pads in the game. That's what he's doing.
He'll put your picture away.
Yeah, put your picture away. But anyway, so this is where the scenes differentiate hugely. The next scene is Ken is driving with his girlfriend in the car, and he's distracted. He's thinking about Ryu. Now he's having a conversation with his girlfriend Liz or whatever her name is. Hey, let's get married, and she goes, "Oh, let me think about it." No, and he
He said, God,
he
bitch,
goes
you're
into
such a
this
tease.
flashback.
It's like, bitch.
I know. But he goes into this flashback with him and Ryu. That's when the romantic music starts. It's not with him and his girlfriend. No, it's him and Ryu. While in the American version, from the moment it cuts to him driving in the car, they're playing "Them Bones" by Alice in Chains, which is fucking awesome. I love this song.
It's because with Ryu, he doesn't do what his girlfriend does, where she just constantly edges him. So with Ryu, he lets
You mean
it just
Ken?
he just lets it all go all in.
Oh no, okay,
Yeah.
okay. That's what it is.
You missed the part in the flashback where he says, "Ryu, want to get married?"
He's like, damn it, everybody keeps turning me down.
Ryu says yes, but
Yes,
there's
but
there's
I
a
need to
greater
win
calling.
I need to win the Street Fighter tournament.
And unfortunately, they never get married because Ryu gets hit by a truck.
Yeah, he tries to kick a fucking semi and dies.
Okay, well, we'll get to that because I got something to say about that. I think it's hilarious. All right, so you have that scene. There's like obviously establishing more of Ken and Ryu's relationship. Like they trained together for 10 years. You don't ever see their sensei, but he's always constantly giving them advice in flashbacks, and you hear it. And then it cuts to like I don't know if this is the scene. No, this isn't the scene yet. Where they're running to go get water. Golly damn, my birds won't shut the fuck up.
Water.
They're running
Sugar.
and they're running and Ryu jumps over this big like fucking like this. They're on the side of the fucking mountain, and he jumps over this big space. And then when Ken goes to jump, the rocks give way. He goes to trip, and then Ryu catches him, and it's like okay, they're like brothers or lovers in the Japanese version.
Yeah, they're like it's a sibling. It's an otherly brotherly love.
Ken he takes his girlfriend back home. He gets abducted by Bison or Vega, Japanese version. But Bison and like he tries to fight Bison. Like Bison, fucking like telepathically Jedi power picks him up from the car, and they're fighting on top of this big fucking like aircraft that he has, and he can't land a fucking punch. Like it's fucking bullshit. It's like playing fucking Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat 9 the first 2 times when you're in the fucking story mode, or Mortal Kombat 9 Shao Kahn when you're having to do fucking raiding at the end of the fucking story mode. You ain't getting shit in, dude. This is like fucking Ultimate Warrior versus Honky Tonk Man SummerSlam '88. You ain't getting shit in, Honky. And Ken gets his shit fucked up in 3 moves, and he's unconscious. Then he's butt naked, strapped to a fucking chair, getting psycho powered induced into him.
Oh yeah,
And,
you do see like well, you don't see his cock, but you know you get to see.
No, he's like it's fucking hilarious because I paused the scene. I had to see it. I'm like, is there a dick there? No, he's a Ken doll. It's just all fucking
Yeah,
black.
he is a Kindle.
So so you have that, and he's getting brainwashed. Think of like Majin Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z, but you know he's not. Well, that's a bad one. It was like Baby Vegeta in Dragon Ball GT. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
So Ken is like under the control, and they're trying to go get to Ryu. Guile doesn't realize he's somehow being tailed by Shadow Law, so he finds Ryu. Ryu's now shacked up with E Honda somewhere in the mountains. And I'm thinking it's funny because you have this scene where Ryu's climbing up this mountain. And then all of a sudden there's a house there and there's E Honda. And I'm thinking to myself, there's no fucking way E Honda climbed up. I'm telling you that right now.
Ryu carried his fat ass up there.
He's
Wait,
like,
is
"Come on." He's like,
E
"Okay,
Honda
thank you."
already up there after he climbed?
I'm thinking they've just been hanging out this whole time because they're Japanese brothers.
Yeah, he's like, I love you. You are my Japanese brother.
He's like, we're Japanese and we stick together. And in the American version, he goes, Here you go. It's like, because we're Japanese. He says, like, well, look, man, we're both Japanese because we're brothers. And he starts laughing. And he splits the money with them. So I guess they turn into like cool boys at that point. I don't know.
Yeah. E
So
Honda's a
they
bro.
get
I always thought he was a villain, but I guess he's a bro.
no, he's a good guy. I love E Honda. Like fucking the face paint
Yeah.
and all that shit. I just thought that shit was fucking cool as hell. And it's funny because he's kind of chubby in the game because he has the Yokozuna title as the best sumo wrestler in the ever.
Yeah.
And it's funny in this game he has like 6 abs and then some pudge underneath him.
Yeah, he's like fucking.
Like everybody in this movie is like fucking ripped, and he's ripped, but he also has this little pudge to be video game accurate.
Yeah,
doing
he's
those
like,
fast palm strikes takes a lot of core work. So
got that cord in
No, no.
there.
Well, the only sad part is he did that a couple times to fucking to douse them in their fight in Calcutta, and it's like just It's like it's not like the the Chun-Li like fast kicks where you see that
Does
shit
she
like
do?
really fucking cool.
Does
It's
she
not
do
like
that
at
in this
all.
movie?
Yeah, she did that. That was the last thing she did to Vega.
Yeah.
She was smashing him against the wall with the fast kicks, and then she jumps up with a front drop kick to Vega's face.
Yeah, the fighting in I know we haven't really talked about it, but the fighting in this movie, just from what I guess I heard, kind of because I watched some stuff after I watched it a while back. I guess it's supposed to be like really accurate. I mean, it looks really good. It's like very well animated, but I guess like the technical martial arts type shit outside of like the special moves and stuff is supposed to be accurate or whatever.
Yeah, which is cool. I mean, like I said, I from what I've watched, I thought it looked really fucking good. And it's like believable how they hit their moves and shit like that. Other than the Shoryuken, not Shoryuken, the Hadouken,
Sure you can.
and the how do you do, Ken?
Sure you can.
Sure you can. But so we get to this part where Guile finds Ryu and E Honda up in that mountain, and you see the Shadow Law shows up. Well, Ken steps out of the plane. He's got pink eyes. I guess somebody farted in his face. He got poop material in his eyeballs. Anyway, it's like that's why he's not mad. He's not like being psycho powered possessed by Bison. He's just got pink eye. He's pissed off. But
that's how M. Bison
he
actually
comes off the plane.
completes his mind control, as he
farts
just rips
like
bare ass in their face.
He's like, he's strapped down to the chair and goes, "Are you under my control?" "Yes, master." All right, one last thing. That's so fucking gross to think about. Ugh, golly damn. Anyway, so he gets pink eye from Bison, and he's mad at Ryu. He comes down with a cloak, and at this point, you'd only seen him in his red gi uniform in flashbacks. He hasn't worn it yet. And Bison comes out, and they're having a little epilogue where he's telling them that Ken now works for him underneath his power, and Ken's here to fight Ryu, and he's teasing. He's taunting Guile into fighting
Ken's
him,
my
Guile has no
boyfriend
power.
now, motherfucker.
Fuck you and fuck Barbie is what he said. It's funny. E Honda charges after them. He says, "I gotta get rid of this guy because he's pissing me off or giving me a headache or something like that." He runs. Bison disappears, and Ken just taps him on the back. So he goes like Ric Flair, whoa, 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 like 15 feet in front of him. Balrog jumps in front of him, and somehow, some way, Balrog's eyes are all cocked out, like in opposite directions now. So, like, the fights break off with Bison and Guile, and it's, again, this isn't a fight. This is Ultimate Warrior versus any jobber that you've ever seen him fight. Runs it. No, this is Ultimate Warrior versus Big Van Vader in 1996. House shows. He runs in, he ducks 2 clotheslines, hits Vader with a fucking shoulder block, hits him with a big splash, and pins him 1, 2, 3 in 30 seconds. That's how the house show matches go, and that's what Bison does to Guile here. Guile tries to do everything. He fucks up Bison's cape. Bison's floating around and fucking disappearing, like cheating, and he just kicks his ass, and then it's funny, like, you see blood coming from Guile's head, and he's leaned up against a tree, and he goes up to him to do something, and smiles and walks away. He goes, "Hey, come back here." E Honda and
Tell Mama I'm coming home.
Balrog, uh, Balrog, they tackle each other and start rolling off the fucking mountain. Now, there's 3 different versions of this for the American version. One, uh, they're like, oh, 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 they don't say anything going down the hill. 2, E Honda's like, "Oh no," as they're rolling down the hill. And then 3 is what's in the American version. They're both like, "Shit."
Do they really? I knew they don't they curse at other points in one of the dubs or something.
Yeah, like the English dub has cussing in it, but not so much. The UK version has like more cussing.
Oh.
He's
like, "Hey,
there's a scene
fucking bitch."
They should, "Oh, shit."
Yeah, they have English accents. They're like, "Oh, you fucking cunt. Let's fucking fight."
It's Australia.
Well, it's funny. Well, like the DJ scene where the DJ comes up and he tells them about shadow law.
Yeah.
He's like, "Yahoo! Those are some bad dudes."
He said,
"That's the PG-13 version."
He said, "Those are some badass motherfuckers."
Yeah, he actually does say "motherfuckers," and that's the UK version, so that's pretty good.
He says, "Those fucking cocksuckers are fucking badass."
They can suck the meat off my trombone anyway. Ken and Ryu have probably, I would say, the best fight. It's like hard hitting shit like that. It's like, I don't know how to really describe it. Like, it feels like a realistic fight drawn in a cartoon. Like Ken's like punching his fucking head and then picks him up, and then Ken's having these weird flashback moments where you can tell. They say earlier he's not ready, but he's having these weird flashback moments. He sees Ryu's headband, and you see that he gave Ryu the headband when he cut his face open when he spin kicked him in a flashback. So he sees that, and he's getting reminded. Then he starts kicking his ass more, and then there's a flashback scene of Ryu standing there that merges with present Ryu that Ken's freaking out about. And then there's one more. Ken jumps up, and he's got the psycho power controls over. And then Bison fucks up Ken with one move. And then Bison and Ryu start fighting, and Bison's kicking Ryu's ass. I mean, I kept saying the Ultimate Warrior. This is more like Brock Lesnar in his run. Like, he's kicking everybody's ass, and it's not fun to watch. And then Ken has to, like, he has his mental control, but his legs don't work, so he has to, like, gain control of his body. He's going back to teachings that his master, Goyuken, I believe is the name. That's not given the name in this movie, but that's just what happens. And he somehow realigns his body and spirit, and he's able to move. And then him and Ryu have this really cool fight with Bison. It finishes off with Ken hitting the spinning kick on Bison as Ryu holds Bison's leg. Then Ryu hits the Shoryuken uppercut, and then they both hit the Hadouken. And then Bison, like straight up Dragon Ball Z, Tree of Might, Turles, getting absorbed by the Spirit Ball and blowing up in the fucking Tree of Might. Bison goes straight into his airplane hangar, and the whole thing blows up.
When Ken is trying to regain the use of his legs, the thing that gets to him is he hears a voice that says, "Use the Force, you will."
He's like, "Take you to him, we will." No, he hears the fucking the seagull song that Yoda sings for bad lip reading. He's like, if I had your giant feet out there on the beach, I could outrun those birds. And then he wakes up. He's like, "Huh," and he can like fucking move his legs. So you see E Honda. He's pulling up Balrog and Guile, so they survived. Next scene is the American or Interpol Air Force is coming and blowing up Shadow Law's hangar. You don't see any more villains. Guile, you can obviously tell it's Chun-Li's voice, and she's putting on a deeper voice. He gets a call from the hospital saying he needs to be there as soon as he can, and they hang up on him. He's like, "Chun-Li!" He goes in there thinking she's dead. She's covered up like a fucking, like she's dead. He's like, "I avenged you." Like, the Japanese version is kind of bullshit because he goes, "I avenged you like I said I would." Like, bitch, you didn't do anything. But I'm like, dude, like, come on now. But then he goes, in the American version, he says something that's like, we took care of him like I said we would, kid. And she goes, no. And then, like I said, brotherly sister, he's tickling her. Japanese version, he's about to fuck her. I don't know. Um,
It, she
and
she pops
then
out of the
you
blanket.
have a
Gotcha,
quick
bitch.
scene. And then you have a quick scene where Ryu and Ken are standing there talking about like how they can't pursue their love. And Ken's girlfriend comes up in the car, and he goes, "Hey, let's not tell anybody about this." And Ryu goes, "About what?" And then Ken goes, "Oh wait, you're right." And then he drives off. I don't think that's not what happens. I'm making that shit up. Um, they have that
Yeah.
weird little
Ken.
dialogue I said at the end where Ken's like, "You've gotten really strong." He goes, "Yeah, you too." He goes, "See ya." And I really thought the Japanese version would have more context, and no, it's just as bad. And so they drive off, and then I was telling Cody when he got to the end to make sure he got to the end credits part so he could hear the corn song playing because I knew he would probably turn it off just seeing Ryu walking and a few credit scenes popping up. I'm like, no, don't turn it off yet. So Ryu starts walking down the highway again, like this, like
like
at least
like the
four scenes
Incredible
in this
Hulk.
movie where they're walking for extra 20 seconds. Like what?
The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the
The
old TV show.
yeah, the end credits from the whole TV show where he's just walking down the
Yeah,
road.
I was thinking more like John Rambo, which is Rambo Part 4. Oh,
Nope.
I think it's called Rambo. So Rambo, and at the end of the movie, when he comes back to America, he's walking on the highway with the thing. He looks around. It's pretty cool. Like Ryu's a lot like Rambo, which is kind of like weird because I know he's based off of like other characters. Um, but there's a tractor trailer truck coming up behind him, and you're like, oh, okay. And then Ryu turns around. He's like, what? And you see it's M. Bison driving a tractor trailer truck for some fucking reason. This dude has fucking airplane hangar size fucking plane. He's got all this other stuff. I'm sure he had more than one base, and he's driving a tractor trailer truck to drive over Ryu. And Ryu in the Japanese version jumps up and yells the word chaser, and that's the end of the movie. And a lot of people, that was weird because he's a, why would he say that? It just sounds kind of weird. I like the American version better. He's like, yeah.
And then he gets
And then the
killed.
first time Corn Blind ever popped up ever in my eardrums, I'm like, oh my god, I love the song. So
That's his nickname, Chaser.
Chaser. Uh, now there is something else I got to talk about real quick. I'm gonna go grab me some Steak and Shake again because I like Steak and Shake.
Let's make a
There is a
love.
video game. There is a video game that was released in Japan exclusively for the PlayStation on December 15th, 1995, and the Sega Saturn, March 15th, 1996. It's called Street Fighter II Movie. It is this movie put into a video game. And they have another cyborg that looks just like the other cyborgs, but he's colored differently. Like he's like pink and purple. He's like more advanced. They even use scenes from this movie in this video game, and they just put a little extra dialogue into it. There's a few extra scenes, and you can tell they're extra because they look like shit. Um, this game, you go through and you fight all the Street Fighter main characters with the cyborg learning all their moves, and then the final boss is Ryu, and you fight Ryu. Now the game is, how do they say it?
Garbage.
It's an interactive. It's a version for and never released. The game consists of footage from the movie mixed with newly animated footage by group TAC created specifically for the game, including an open video. The player takes control of a new type of monitor cyborg that's been secretly developed by Shadowlaw. The object of the game is to develop the cyborg's abilities by analyzing the fighting techniques of martial arts around the world in order to gain enough strength to challenge Ryu in combat. The gameplay consists of watching pre-rendered footage and analyzing them using search command. For example, if the scene is shown which involves a character performing a kick technique, then the cyborg's kick abilities will increase by pointing and clicking on the character's kicks. On each stage, the player has a limited amount of time to analyze the surrounding as much possible in order to gather the most data.
That sounds like crap.
Now,
Honestly, that sounds really unfun.
While the majority of the game is strictly a life simulation, the final battle between the Cyborg and Ryu is a one-on-one fighting segment that features the same game system as Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, including the presence of the Super Combo Gauge. All of the Cyborg's acquired abilities can be put to use to battle. And let's see here. There is 2 different endings in this game. One of them is you knock out Ryu. Like, he's on the ground. That final scene where Bison's about to fight Ryu, Ryu's on the ground and the Cyborg is in front of Bison. And Bison goes, "You're going to be one of my most powerful agents," yada, yada, yada. So you have 1 year later where they're at some gathering that Shadow Law's taken over the world or some shit like that. And Bison's there, and you got Sagat and Balrog, and you have the Cyborg right behind them. And then Ryu jumps from the crowd to attack him, and that's the ending scene. The other scene is the Cyborg turns good, and you fight Bison and kill him. And they intercut scenes from the movie, like the ending scene where Ryu's walking away. It's the Cyborg now, and he's dressed up in a robe, like a sack robe. It looks like a potato sack over his head.
Yeah.
And then you see that scene where Ken is driving with his girlfriend, where the Alice in Chains is playing. But he drives by the Cyborg and looks back and just keeps on driving. It's really fucking weird. Like, there's no, like... It was really funny. Like, they had this entire thing on this Blu-ray, which was an awesome release. It's like 2016's Blu-ray. It just says Street Fighter 2 Collector's Edition. It's a white case with the characters on front. If you're interested, this is like the ultimate edition of this movie. Buy it. Highly suggest it. It's pretty dope. And then that's it for Street Fighter 2, the animated movie. That anime that I was telling you guys about, Street Fighter 2 V for Victory, was produced by the same company that made this movie, had the same director. It's not connected canonically to it. It's separate.
Oh, that's kind of lame. Is it good, though?
Yeah. It's not that good. I watched some of it. I mean, it's definitely anime. Like, it feels like an anime show, kind of like Outlaw Star or something like that. But it's not like what, you know. It's better in like a one big package like this movie versus like expanding the story out. Like, they changed it. Like, Ryu and Ken are 17 years old and they're traveling, and then Chun-Li is like 14 years old hanging out with them, and it's really fucking weird, like, some of that shit. But it's the same thing. So this movie did inspire that. We have the Street Fighter animated series, which is obviously based off of Street Fighter 2 as well, and all that. So I was telling Cody in a text message earlier. He never responds because he never does. He said, Capcom has got more life off of Street Fighter 2 as a name than I think any other property has ever done, other than, like, I'm adding this now, like Gene Simmons has with Kiss. Like, he's made so much money off that. Capcom has made so much money off of Street Fighter 2 as anything, as a game, as a property. That's what it always goes back to. It's never the first game. You know, when people sit there and say, it's like, you know, like, sequels are usually like bad follow-ups to like the original property. Empire Strikes Back is better than Star Wars. Friday the 13th Part 2 is better than Friday the 13th. I think Psycho 2 is better than Psycho. That's just me. Mortal Kombat 2 is better than Mortal Kombat. Street Fighter 2 is better than anything else in this fucking franchise. You know, it's amazing. But, so that is the end of the movie, and I think there was a manga they put together, a quick little manga that came out for a couple months in Japan based off of this movie too. So, based off of all that, it's amazing what this little like movie helped like spawn off to, like the popularity. Because, like I said, I think they were done. Like, the first Street Fighter 2 came out in 1991. This came out in 94. I think Champion Edition had just come out, or Super, or Turbo, whatever. I guess Turbo had just come out in 1993 or 4. So that's what this movie was based off of. So let's go into our final thoughts. Just make sure my PlayStation 3 is still up to date, which it is. I'm going to turn it off. It's been on long enough because I feel like it's going to overheat.
PlayStation.
All right. So we're gonna go into. Did you like this movie? Do you recommend this? I'm gonna start with Cody. Cody, your thoughts, sir?
Um, it was fine. I do recommend it if you like Street Fighter or if you're a general anime fan. It's worth a watch for sure. It's nothing like spectacular by any means, but it's worth giving it the old college try. It is.
Let me ask you this, Cody. Would you rather watch this again or watch Akira again?
Probably this.
Okay, that's where I was kind of like leaning to when I picked this movie.
Tetsuo. That's
I am Akira. Um, so Owen, sir, let's jump into your final thoughts about Street Fighter 2, the animated movie.
Yeah, I liked it. I would definitely give it a watch. You'll probably really enjoy it if you have probably any interest in Street Fighter or anything like that. Even on its own, it can be a pretty fun, watch if you're into, just some martial arts ass kicking anime. It probably would be pretty fun to watch. So yeah, I recommend it. It had the positive. I said it earlier, but this movie solidified Ken as my favorite character, and like really kind of made me see why a lot of people really like these characters so much. So that's a positive that I think this movie has going for it.
Cool. Would you watch this or Akira again if you had the choice?
I don't know. It depends on what I feel like watching, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
Okay, I just want to make sure I asked that question. All right, for me, I definitely recommend it, especially if you like fighting games. I just recommend it if you want to give it a shot. Like I said, it's good. I feel like it gives the story of Street Fighter 2 the best adaptation or best story for Street Fighter ever adapted past the games. And if you play the games are really just fighting. There's very little story to it. I'd say that Street Fighter has added more story to their games as they went along because Mortal Kombat's added story and they were successful with it, and that's what a lot of people like, is story. But I feel like this movie does justice to the story and even adds a little bit to make a tad bit more interesting. Like I said, the first 30 minutes might be a little boring for some people, but if you really like Street Fighter, I think you'll just love this movie. So I definitely recommend it. I definitely like this movie. I liked it when I first watched it. It's not just nostalgia. I think it's really well drawn. I think the fighting looks good. Is it one of the best animes of all time? No, I would watch it over Akira though, because I don't think Akira is one of the best animes of all time. So I guess I'm in the minority of that. Yeah. So that is it for Street Fighter. And so far, that will be it for my video game movie adaptation reviews until Mortal Kombat 2 comes out in theaters, either this year or early next year. So that's it for me on this episode. Owen, you are the next host.
Yes.
What is going to be your
I
episode,
think
sir?
I'm going to do the oft teased Beyond Thunderdome.
Ah!
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'll like it this time. The reason I'm picking it is
Wait.
Yeah,
What are we doing?
Mad Max 3.
Mad Max 3.
Oh, finally. I've actually been thinking about that recently. Like, man, I really kind of want to watch that.
Yeah. I'll give it another try. We'll see how it goes. The reason I'm picking it is because I watched the Fallout show, and I was like, I was expecting this to. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be like Mad Max, but I was expecting maybe a bit more of a Mad Max tone, I guess. But oh well.
Yeah, because that's what Fallout's known for, is being like Mad Max.
Yeah. So, but oh well.
Okay, I like that. I feel like a completionist. Hey, I'm just curious. I can't remember. Did we ever cover Blade Runner in this movie? In this show?
No, we haven't.
Oh, God, man.
We've made jokes about it
so,
before, I think, but that's it.
Yeah, I want to cover Blade Runner at some point because I want to cover Blade Runner 2049 and make Owen and Cody watch it.
Yeah, I need to watch it
But
anyway.
like I said, I want to do the Friday the 13th. Me and Cody had the conversation when we talked about an hour before, like 2 days ago, and it was before the NFL draft was starting. Um, we had a talk. It's like, man, like watching a movie that's over 2 hours long is kind of a, you know, a commitment that I don't want to make right now.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I'm picking the Friday the 13th movies because they're like an hour and 25 minutes
I
max.
don't even know how
So if I pick,
long Thunderdome is.
I mean, I'll just be like, I'm cool with it because I want to see this movie. I want to complete the story because I like the first one. I really like part two.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be pretty fucking cool, and you know, that's why I picked Friday the 13th because the movies are easy, and those Blade Runner movies are over 2 hours. I know Blade Runner 2049 is like 2.5 hours long because I saw that shit in theaters. I loved it. I saw that shit in theaters. All right, Cody, and your movie going to be after Mad Max 3, The Thunderdome.
My next movie is Mars Attacks.
Okay.
Okay.
Lance,
And
I have a
then-
question before we end. Why did you bring up a Steak and Shake? What prompted that? Were you just hungry?
Because I'm gonna get Steak and Shake. I'm starving.
Okay, I see. You just thought
Yeah,
about it.
I'm full of fucking some like burgers and nasty shit. Cody's Mars Attacks. That's when I'll be starting my Friday the 13th anthology, if you will, of episodes. At some point in one or two of those episodes, we may have a guest host pop on with us, so we'll have a 4-man show. I'm not sure which one Alex. I think Alex said he'd really like to be on episode Friday the 13th, the final chapter. And I am excited to like just watch these movies. I'm pretty sure. I feel like Owen may like one or two of them, but he's gonna shit on the rest of them, which is fine.
Yeah. What movies?
And I think Cody will have the Friday the 13th movies. And then I think Cody will have more respect for him. He may not like them as much, but I respect. But it's gonna be like good nostalgia because, like I said, my grandmother, you know, R.I.P. or my granddad, she introduced me to those movies, and I'm gonna have fun talking about it because, dude, like for a couple of Christmases in a row, I got some Friday the 13th VHS tapes, like brand new, and they're just because she said she couldn't find them anywhere, and then someplace in the mall, like, oh, got them. I got like Friday the 13th 2, 4, and 6 one Christmas. It was fucking dope, dude. Anyway, so everybody, thank you for listening to this episode of Filmoscopy. If you've liked this episode, if you like us in general, if you know us in general, follow us on social media. We're on Facebook at Filmoscopy Pod. Follow us on X/Twitter at Filmoscopy Pod. Look us up on YouTube at Filmoscopy Podcast because at this point we're going to have some episodes on there. We're on Spotify. I know we're on iTunes. And Google got rid of their podcast. They merged it into something else. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, Google Music. We're on Google Music. So if you're on any of those platforms, just like the episode if you can, or like the show, whatever option it is. I know some places you can give a thumbs up. You can only like the show in general.
You
5
can rate
stars.
it.
You know, rate it. Yeah. So. Yeah, give us a rating if you could. Give us some feedback. I mean, it'd be freaking awesome. Like Spotify, we get notified like anybody leaves a comment. Please, like, give us anything. It'd be cool as hell to like interact with somebody about this if this interests you. Special thanks to TNA Cross the Line Podcast for their shout out. Special thanks to Tadmock99 for his retweets and shout outs on for our Mortal Kombat episodes. He's been wonderful with that, and he'll probably retweet Mortal Kombat Annihilation, so special thanks to him as well. And just thank y'all for listening, and have a wonderful night.
And finish it.